Good evening, Mr. Castaldo. Thank you for your time. First of all, I would like to ask you a question about this huge forum, 600 participants, and what do you think, what are your expectations about the genocide prevention at all, I mean, all around the world? Is it possible to say that this event will be a start of a new commandments, of new steps in prevention? Is it possible?
We absolutely hope so, and we hope it will be a main and important brick in the wall of the fight against the crime of genocide. We all know, we are all very aware that about the fact that deny is just the last step of the crime of genocide and every kind of crime against humanity. That's why it's so important to have such a wide discussion with intellectuals, philosophers, historians and political, to have a very wide and important and free exchange of views and open all, to remember that we should not forget.
So, what do you think? I would like to ask you about the recent amendments in the European Parliament and the resolution that has had adopted. And there was one very interesting point, that there was amendment on Holy Father and his speech in Holy City. And what are your comments? How did it happen? It was not in the draft resolution, but it was adopted in the end. So how did it happen?
I really followed that question very closely, just because I was one of the co-author of the resolution, and I am the author of those amendments you were speaking about. In fact, the resolution was very important. It was even a struggle to obtain that and to find a good and wide compromise on that by the different political groups. And because, of course, there were some kind of resistance, some of my colleagues in the European Parliament were more concerned about geopolitical and commercial issues than about principles, crimes and protection of human rights and historical memory. But finally we got it. I was astonished and surprised that there was a refuse by the EPP members, so by the Christian Democrats, to add the resolution, even the speech, an explicit reference of the speech about the speech of the Pope. That is, my opinion, it was very strange. It has no sense. So that's why, with my colleague Laura Gea, we decided to draft those amendments. There were 6 amendments. 2 of them were about the speech of the Pope. That was very, in my opinion, brave and important, especially in such a situation where we have seen from some governments, even from the Italian governments, too much concerns, too much shyness, too much diplomacy. I think in such issues you should be clear, and your speech should be bright, should be absolutely direct and go straight ahead to the point. And that's why we did those amendments. And then finally, happily, we have got good consensus among the plenary, and we obtained the approval of the amendments that were added to the text of to the final text of the resolution. But the most important aspect was to have the resolution approved with a general consensus on the fact that what happened in Armenia during 1915 and 1918 was a genocide. So we strengthen what the past resolution already said, and to remember that the historical truth should be used, not to blame, not to condemn, but in a proper way. So that it means in the way of the reconciliation between people with neighbors, and those who doesn't want to use them in that way, and that doesn't want to recognize, they are maybe falling into the trap of rhetoric, of the national rhetoric, and of violence, and that's why we should absolutely fight for that cultural and wide and intelligent approach.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.